name's Brett. Welcome to Suburban Garage. Welcome to the second episode of Suburban Garage. This episode is the tear down episode. We're going to pull all the parts off the bike that we don't need. I'll lay them all out on the floor here so you can visually see what we need and what we don't need. Now all I've got over here is just a basic tool kit really, nothing too special. Sockets, spanners, screwdrivers, hammers, shifters, Allen keys. Most of the stuff that most guys have got, and girls, most stuff that you've got in your shed as you're working at night time. Most of the tools on this bike you'll probably only need a 10, an 8, 12, 14 mil sockets, so you won't need anything too special. Okay, we've got the budget board over here. We're not going to exceed the $1,000 limit. We should have money left. So far what we've bought is the tractor seat, $67.19, and the rear guard, which I explained last episode, that come out of Melbourne already pre-rolled. All I've got to do is cut it. That was $109 delivered to the house. Both those items there are off eBay. I find that eBay is the cheapest place for me to purchase items and the easiest place to research. I love these old motorcycles. They're very easy to work on. These are carburetor motorcycles. This one's got 4 carburetors. I try to keep away from fuel injected motorcycles because you can open up a lot of dramas. Fuel injected motorcycles these days don't seem to hold their value. These carburetor models, they're easy to work on. The parts are very cheap and everything just works very well. Now when you're going to pull this bike apart, if you choose to work on this motorcycle, what I suggest you do is when you pull the blinkers off, don't worry about these broken blinkers. When you pull the blinkers off, the headlight, the rear light, just put a tag around it and just label what it is, because if you don't do that and you're not familiar with the machine, you can get into a bit of dramas. You'll have to get the test light out and work everything out, but we'll have most of this motorcycle pulled apart, so it will be very hard to actually find what wire does what. These big headlights, the cafe builders like these big headlights, so you can get good money for these headlights. You probably resell these. I'm going to keep them because you never know what my next project's going to be. That's about it. Let's break out some tools and let's get this thing rolling. Got the bike down to basically bare bones of what we're going to work with. Don't worry about all these cables hanging out. We're going to tape all these cables up and we're going to hide most of them away. Now what I have done is left these brackets. These were the headlight brackets. We're actually going to use these holes here for the new blinkers. So later on in the build, when we get down in another episode, we're just going to trim these brackets back to make them nice and neat, because we don't need the whole bracket. Over here we've got parts that we are going to keep. These are the boots that go off the carburetors. There's 4 carburetors, hence the 2 boots. I do turn these from a square into round for these pod filters. These are the boots here. For these pod filters, because they're round, we just notch the corners out like a V, so then I can make them round. We're only going to keep one horn because the bike had 2 horns. We don't really need 2 horns. It's not a truck. 1 horn's plenty loud enough. We've kept the battery. We don't really need this box. That can go up there with everything else. We're going to keep the front guard and we're going to keep the fuel tank. Fuel tank's got plenty of fuel in it, not that it matters, but we're going to empty that and fix these dints at a later date. What I've got over here now is all the stuff that we aren't going to need. So everything that you see here, the air box complete with the filter, the rear underguard, the headlight. I am going to actually keep this headlight. I'm going to put this over here because I'm going to keep this for a later build later on where I may build a cafe racer. The seat's in really good condition. There's not a problem with it. You won't have a problem in selling some of these parts. Even this rear fiberglass, these things aren't cheap to buy, but we don't need it. Same with all these blinkers, the back gear rack, the pillion passenger handle, the blinkers, the brackets, the rear foot pegs, this fairing that goes underneath the seat. You don't need any of this stuff. That's quite a decent rear light. I'm not going to have a need for it. It's a little too big for what I need it for. But even all the bolts, if you want to keep the bolts, that's fine. I'm a bit of a bolt fanatic. I tend to keep all the bolts. But these broken blinkers, they're not really good for anything. So, I mean, this one's broken. So, you can do what you like with this sort of stuff. You can sell these sort of things on eBay and you can get quite good dollars for them. Even this rear light, you'll probably get, say, $30 for that light if someone's looking for a light. All these parts, battery box, the underguard, the seat. I reckon you'd have no problems in getting $80 for this seat, not a drama whatsoever. But I don't need them, so I'm probably going to box them up and I'm probably just going to give them to my local motorcycle wreckers. Because I've got way too many motorcycle parts. I've got parts everywhere, but some stuff I keep, some I don't. Some I can see into the future and see different ideas of things that I'm going to build, so I tend to keep a lot of stuff lying around. Now just over here, these are all the brackets that I was talking about the other day. I keep all these brackets, even when I know I don't need them, I still get them. These stands here, I keep all these stands from the motorcycle shops. They just throw these away. These are the road bike stands that come with Ducatis and R1s and things like that. When they're in the actual crate, being crated over here, they just leave these out for scrap metal, but I keep them because I might be able to just cut that there and cut that there and bend that to make some sort of a bracket later in the future. But that's how we've got it here now. We'll keep the handlebars on it for the time being just so I can move it around, but we are going to take the front brake and the clutch lever, the grips, the handlebar weights and the handlebars themselves. We're going to ditch all that sort of stuff because we really don't need it. We want a nice, modern, fast look. Over here I will build a new bracket for this rear reservoir, exactly the same as the bracket is over here. So all the wiring, as I said, is all hidden up under the seat, the fuse boxes at the back. So it's pretty easy for us to do. Very, very easy motorcycle to pull apart. Everything's very simple. The airbox comes out really easy. I'm going to tape up the openings of these carburetors just so wasps and things don't get in it. But what we're going to look at right now, I'm actually going to pull this rocker cover off because I'm very interested to see what the inside of the engine looks like. Plus I want to get this off to get it polished as quick as I can. And I think after we do that we might move on to the seat so we can get the seat organised so we can get that off to the upholster, because that may take 2 weeks to come back too. So bear with me and we'll crack this lid off and we'll have a look. Just before I go ahead and pull this rocker cover off, I've just marked the leads 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not the firing order, we all know that, but I've just done that from left to right just so I know which leads go where, because if you muck the leads up you can muck around for a good hour trying to figure it out, even though it's only a 4-cylinder. So we get the Allen keys out and I'll whip this off and we'll be back in a second. Now we've undone all these screws for this rocker cover. Now this can be the scariest part of working on any old motorcycle. Because once I pull this rocket cover cap off, we'll see whether the person before me has looked after their motorcycle and changed their oil and their filters regularly. Because if they don't, we all know what that can look like. Pretty nasty stuff. If it is bad, we might have to run an engine flush through it. And be careful with these gaskets too, because they tear really easy, even though they're rubber. We want to try and preserve and keep these gaskets, because that whole gasket that weaves in and out of this rocker cover is about $85. So if we can save this, we're going to be in front straight away. Now I have pulled it up a little bit just to relieve the pressure off the gasket, but I haven't seen inside of the engine yet, so hopefully we can save the gasket and get this off. Can be a little fiddly, there's a few cables and things in the way, but we should be right if we can get this off, and we'll have a good look at this engine and we'll see what's in the way there. It's in the way. The distributor's in the way. Give me a second, we'll get that out of the way. I'll unscrew it and I'll tape it up out of the way. Okay, I've got those left and right distributors out of the way. Here they are here. The plug leads are attached to them. 1 and 4 on this side and 1 and 4 on that side. 2 and 3 on this side. The gasket looks pretty good. I haven't broken the gasket. Let's get this off and have a look, because I'll be very happy to have a look inside. Now this is a twin cam motorcycle, as you'll soon see. We'll get this out of the way somehow. How are we going to get that out? Here we go. Ah, beautiful. Look, we saved the gasket too. Look, we haven't even torn it. Beautiful. We've just saved 80 bucks. Now that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Wow. That looks really good. I'm really impressed with that. For an older motorcycle, this guy, that's pretty much a good indication of what the rest of the engine looks like. Time and chain looks pretty good. Everything looks pretty good. We're all nice and clean in there. That's quite remarkable actually. It's a 92 model motorcycle, and I can barely say for sure that the inside lower end of this engine looks as good as the top. Well, that's good. Pretty happy about that. That can save a lot of time and a lot of money. I'll get this rocker cover off the Hamilton Chrome now. I'll get that polished up. I might even speak to my brother and see if he can do it for me. Might save a few extra dollars. But that looks pretty good. It's got a few pits in it, bit of corrosion, but it's not cracked. And the beautiful thing is, we saved the gasket. Beautiful. So by the time we get this back, it's got a bit of corrosion, bit of stuff going on there. But by the time we get this back, it'll look like that. It'll look nice and shiny, and it'll look absolutely brand new and spectacular. Should look really good. Really happy. I've been pretty lucky with this motorcycle. It's got 2 really good tyres on it. This has got good tread on this tyre, which will save us a few bucks. Same with this tyre up on the front. This tyre on the front's pretty good too, so we won't have any dramas in replacing tyres. We're not in a great deal of price-wise. We're not in it a fair bit for this motorcycle. This particular motorcycle here was only $1,500 from Melbourne. I paid about $200 to get it trucked up, so I think we're in it for about $1,700. This black motorcycle, the one that I've already finished, I picked this one up. This one had 5 months rego on it, 44,000 kilometres, original owner, and I picked this bike up for $1,300 with the registration. Couldn't ask for anything better. I was so happy about that, and I'm pretty happy with this bike too, because this bike looks pretty good for the money, and especially that the engine looks so good. I'm really amazed. I've been really lucky with both motorcycles so far, that the person that's had them before me's really looked after them and changed the oil and filters. So all we're going to do to this is we'll change the oil filter, the 4 spark plugs and some engine oil, and this bike will be good to go. We won't worry about pulling anything off the lower end of the engine because it all looks pretty good. So we'll just drain the oil and away we go. We will get rid of these levers in time, and we'll leave the handlebars on it just so I can move it around because I have got other projects going at the moment as well. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with that. That's been a pretty good breakdown. The third episode, what we'll do is we'll go through the seat and I'll mark the seat out and we'll start cutting the seat up. We'll get that off to the upholsterer because that could take about 2 weeks to come back to me. Well, that just about wraps up episode 2. We've had a very productive evening. We've got rid of all the things that we don't need on the motorcycle. We've pulled the rocket cover off. We've saved the gasket. We've had a good look at the internals of the engine, which I must say again, I'm very happy with the previous owner for changing the oil and filter because I can tell he's done it straight away. Next episode, as I said, we'll be off to the seat and then we'll get on to some painting. We're looking good. Progress has come along very well tonight. I'm impressed with the bike of what I've seen so far. We've got good tyres, as I explained before, so we've saved some more money there. Once again, thanks very much for watching Suburban Garage, and I hope to see you in the next episode, which will be episode 3. Thanks very much.